The South Pacific stretched before Dr. Sienna Hart like a vast blue canvas, deceptively serene from her vantage point on the helicopter. 15 years of running from this ocean hadn't dulled its power over her. If anything, the intervening years had only sharpened its pull. 5 minutes to the Poseidon research base, Dr. Hart, the pilot's voice crackled through her headset. Sienna nodded, her fingers instinctively finding the pendant at her throat, a small piece of iridescent stone wrapped in intricate silver wire. Her father's last gift. The only thing they'd recovered after James Hart had vanished beneath these same waters. The research base materialized on the horizon, a marvel of modern engineering anchored to the ocean floor, its upper levels rising like a futuristic island of steel and glass. Normally, the sight of cutting-edge marine research facilities would excite her. Today, it only tightened the knot in her stomach. Dr. Hart, welcome to Poseidon. Dr. Eliza Chen, the base director, greeted her as she stepped onto the helipad. Your reputation precedes you. Thank you for the opportunity, Sienna replied, her professional mask firmly in place. I'm eager to see what you found. Of course. The sonar readings are unlike anything we've ever encountered. But first, let me introduce you to your co-lead for the deep dives. Sienna followed Dr. Chen through a series of corridors, mentally reviewing the mission parameters. The discovery of potential ruins near a tectonic trench was unprecedented, exactly the kind of career-defining project she'd worked toward since earning her doctorate. Nothing would distract her from, Dr. Hart, meet Kai Navarro. The world seemed to tilt beneath her feet. Standing before her was a ghost from her past, older now, with faint lines at the corners of his eyes and a short beard that hadn't been there 15 years ago, but unmistakably him. The last person to see her father alive. Hello, Sienna. His voice was exactly as she remembered, warm with a slight rasp that had once made her teenage heart flutter before tragedy had frozen it solid. What is he doing here? She demanded, turning to Dr. Chen. Mr. Navarro is our specialist for extreme depth dives. His experience is unparalleled. Find someone else. Sienna's voice was ice. There is no one else with his qualifications who can reach the depths we need, Chen replied firmly. This isn't negotiable, Dr. Hart. Kai stepped forward. I understand your reservations. You understand nothing, Sienna cut him off. You were supposed to be my father's safety diver. You were supposed to bring him back. The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Chen looked between them, clearly sensing the history, but professional enough not to pry. Perhaps you two should discuss this privately, she suggested, retreating toward the door. The first briefing is at 1800 hours. I expect both of you there, ready to work. When the door closed, Sienna turned away, struggling to maintain her composure. I never thought I'd see you again, Kai said quietly. That was the plan. Sienna, about your father. Don't. She whirled to face him. 15 years too late for explanations, Navarro. His eyes, that impossible shade of amber, held hers. What if I told you he chose to disappear? The words hit her like a physical blow. My father would never abandon his family. Never abandon me. There are things you don't know. Things I couldn't tell a 12-year-old girl. He stepped closer. Things I'm not sure I should tell you now. Save it. We're colleagues for this mission, nothing more. Stay out of my way and I'll stay out of yours. As she brushed past him, his voice followed her. The ocean keeps its secrets, Sienna, but not forever. The control room hummed with activity as Sienna studied the sonar images. The structure was unlike anything she'd seen before. Geometric patterns too precise to be natural formations, yet predating any known civilization capable of underwater construction. The main chamber appears to be here, she indicated, pointing to a large void in the imaging. But there's something beneath it, see? A secondary chamber or tunnel system. We'll need to go deeper than originally planned, Kai noted, leaning over her shoulder. She stiffened at his proximity but didn't move away. The pressure at that depth is extreme, Dr. Chen warned. Our standard equipment won't suffice. I've brought prototype suits, Kai replied, rated for depths beyond what we'll encounter. Sienna raised an eyebrow. Prototypes? Untested? Tested by me, he corrected. Multiple times. And you're just now mentioning this? You weren't exactly open to conversation earlier. Dr. Chen cleared her throat, First dive tomorrow at 0600. Get some rest, both of you. Later, alone in her quarters, Sienna unpacked her equipment with methodical precision. The pendant caught the light as she placed it on the nightstand. She paused, running her finger over its surface. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "What is it?" she called. "It's me." Kai's voice. "We need to talk before tomorrow." She considered ignoring him, but finally opened the door. "Make it quick." He held up a tablet. "I have footage from your father's last dive. Footage no one else has seen." Her heart raced. "Why would you keep that from investigators? From my family?" "Because your father asked me to." His eyes were solemn. "He made me promise, Sienna." "Show me." The footage was grainy, clearly from an older camera. Her father's face appeared, his expression urgent. "Kai, if you're watching this, something's gone wrong. Don't come after me. Tell them I was lost in a current. An accident." He paused, his eyes filled with emotion. "Tell my daughter I'm sorry. The pendant, make sure she gets it. She'll understand someday." The video ended. "He gave me the pendant before he went deeper," Kai explained. "Said it was important." "And you just let him go?" Anger and confusion warred within her. "He was my mentor, Sienna. I trusted him." Kai ran a hand through his hair. "I've spent 15 years trying to understand what he found down there. Now we have a chance to find out." She stared at him, searching for deceit and finding only the same haunted look she'd seen in her own mirror for years. "Tomorrow," she finally said. "We dive, we investigate, we document. That's all. This doesn't change anything between us." But as she closed the door behind him, she knew that wasn't true. Everything had already changed. The submersible descended through layers of blue, each darker than the last. Beside her, Kai monitored their oxygen levels with practiced ease. "Approaching the first structure," he announced. "Lights on full." The beams cut through the gloom, revealing what had once been hidden for centuries, or perhaps millennia. Stone columns rose from the seabed, covered in barnacles and coral but unmistakably crafted by human hands. Beyond them, a temple-like structure emerged from the darkness. "My God," Sienna breathed, professional detachment momentarily forgotten. "It's incredible." "Your father was right," Kai murmured. She shot him a look. "Right about what?" "He always said there were civilizations we'd never accounted for. Ones that understood the sea in ways we've forgotten." They navigated the submersible through what must have once been streets, now home only to schools of fish and swaying anemones. "Look there." Sienna pointed to a wall covered in carvings. "Those symbols, they don't match any known ancient writing system." "We need to get closer." They donned their dive suits, sleek, next-generation equipment that made traditional diving gear look primitive. "Comms check." Kai's voice came through her helmet. "I hear you," she confirmed. "Stay within visual range. The currents here are unpredictable." They exited through the airlock, and Sienna felt the familiar embrace of the ocean. The weightlessness, the silence broken only by her own breathing and the distant songs of whales. The carvings were even more remarkable up close. She ran her gloved hand over the symbols, feeling the precision of their cuts despite centuries underwater. "They're telling a story," Kai said, pointing to a sequence. "Look, these figures are diving. And here, something about a light or energy source." "How could you possibly know that?" He hesitated. "Your father, he had theories, notes. I've studied them." "You had my father's research all this time?" The betrayal stung fresh. "Sienna, focus. We're making history here." She wanted to argue, but knew he was right. This discovery transcended their personal history. She continued documenting the carvings, moving methodically along the wall until she reached a circular design that made her freeze. "Kai," she called, "look at this." The carving showed a pendant, identical to hers. "That's impossible," she whispered. Kai swam closer. "Not impossible. Your father must have found this place before. That's why he had the pendant." A tremor shook the ruins, sending silt swirling around them. "We need to go," Kai urged. "The tectonic activity is increasing." Back in the submersible, Sienna couldn't tear her eyes from the images they'd captured. "My father never mentioned finding ruins," she said. "Why would he keep the secret?" "Maybe for the same reason he disappeared," Kai suggested. To protect it. From what? From whom? He corrected. There are always people who want to exploit discoveries like this. Another tremor, stronger this time, rocked the submersible. We need to surface, Kai decided, already initiating the ascent sequence. As they rose through the water column, Sienna's mind raced with questions. The pendant at her throat seemed to pulse with newfound significance. There's more to this story, she said quietly, and I think my father wanted me to find it. The next 3 days brought increasingly dangerous dives as they mapped the ruins and documented the mysterious writings. With each descent, Sienna felt herself thawing toward Kai. His expertise was undeniable, and his reverence for the ocean matched her own. On the 4th day, they discovered an entrance to the chamber beneath the temple. The opening is too small for the submersible, Kai noted. We'll have to swim in. Dr. Chen's voice crackled through their comms. Seismic activity is increasing. This dive needs to be your last for a while. Understood, Sienna replied. We'll make it count. They approached the narrow entrance, a perfect circle cut into stone, its edges worn smooth by centuries of currents. Ladies first, Kai gestured with a mock bow that was visible even through his dive suit. Sienna rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a small smile as she swam through the opening. Inside, her lights revealed a chamber that defied explanation. Perfectly preserved, as though sealed from the ocean until recently. This isn't possible, she breathed. The preservation, it's as if it was airtight. Look at the walls, Kai directed his light toward the smooth surfaces surrounding them. Unlike the exterior carvings, these walls displayed what appeared to be scientific diagrams, depictions of ocean currents, celestial maps, and what looked disturbingly like modern molecular structures. How could they know this? Sienna swam closer to one diagram. This resembles DNA sequencing. Your father believed this civilization was far more advanced than we've ever acknowledged, Kai said. He called them the Thalassians, the Sea People. At the center of the chamber stood a pedestal with a circular depression. Sienna, Kai's voice had an odd quality. Your pendant. She touched it through her suit. What about it? I think it's a key. The idea seemed absurd, yet something resonated as truth. That's why he wanted me to have it. We should try. A warning flashed in her mind. Scientific protocol demanded they document everything before disturbing the site. But her father's face in that video haunted her. Help me remove it from my suit. With careful movements, they extracted the pendant. Sienna approached the pedestal, heart pounding. Whatever happens, Kai said, we're in this together. She placed the pendant in the depression. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft blue light began to emanate from the stone, spreading through channels in the pedestal and across the floor in geometric patterns. The walls of the chamber transformed, sections sliding away to reveal a hidden space beyond. Inside, a sphere of what appeared to be glass or crystal hovered above another pedestal, glowing with the same blue light. It's some kind of recording device, Kai whispered in awe. As if responding to his words, the sphere pulsed, and a 3-dimensional image formed above it, a hologram, impossibly advanced for an ancient civilization. The face that materialized made Sienna gasp. Dad? James Hart looked older than in her memories, with a beard streaked with gray and lines of wisdom around his eyes. If you're seeing this, Sienna, you've found your way to the heart of Thalassia. His voice filled their helmets. I'm sorry for leaving you, but I had no choice. What I discovered here, it changes everything we thought we knew about human history. Tears blurred Sienna's vision as the hologram continued. The Thalassians weren't just an advanced civilization. They were us, Sienna. A branch of humanity that chose the sea over land thousands of years ago. They developed technology we're only beginning to understand, lived in harmony with the ocean, and foresaw the environmental catastrophes we're facing today. The image shifted, showing schematics for sustainable energy, water purification, and climate stabilization. I stayed to learn, to understand. The knowledge here could save our world, but in the wrong hands, it could also lead to unimaginable weapons. I couldn't risk that. Another tremor shook the chamber, stronger than before. The ruins are becoming unstable, Kai warned. The hologram flickered. My time is running out. The guardians of this knowledge, descendants of the Thalassians who still live on a nearby island, they've accepted me, taught me, But the ruins are protected by more than secrecy. The tectonic triggers will destroy this place if too much is disturbed. Sienna felt cold dread wash over her. We need to leave, now. There's a final chamber, her father's image continued. It contains the complete archives of Thalassian knowledge. You'll find it beyond the western wall, but be warned. Removing anything will trigger the collapse sequence. The hologram flickered again. I love you, Sienna. I'm sorry for the pain I caused, but I hope someday you'll understand why I had to stay. The pendant will guide you if you choose to follow this path. With those words, the image faded, leaving them in the glow of the blue channels. Sienna, we need to go, Kai urged as another, stronger tremor shook loose debris from the ceiling. The western chamber. We have to see it first. It's too dangerous. I didn't come this far to turn back now. Following the blue light that seemed to respond to her presence, they swam through an opening in the western wall. Beyond it lay a sight that stole Sienna's breath. A vast library of crystal spheres, each glowing with stored information. This is it, she whispered. Everything my father gave his life to protect. A violent shake threw them against the wall. Warning lights flashed in their helmets. The structure is collapsing, Kai shouted. We have minutes at most. Sienna stared at the archive, understanding the choice before her. She could attempt to take one of the spheres, potentially saving knowledge that could transform humanity's relationship with the ocean, or she could leave it protected as her father had chosen. Sienna, Kai's voice was desperate. We have to choose, the data or our lives. In that moment, clarity washed over her. Her father hadn't abandoned her for knowledge. He'd sacrificed his life with her to protect something greater than himself. Something greater than both of them. Let's go, she said, turning away from the archive. This isn't ours to take. They swam frantically through the collapsing chambers, dodging falling debris. The blue light faded behind them as they reached the entrance. The submersible is 50 meters north, Kai directed. Follow me. They pushed through the water as the ruins crumbled behind them, a cloud of silt and debris threatening to engulf them. Sienna's muscles burned with effort, her oxygen reserves dropping into critical levels. Through the murk, the submersible's lights appeared like a beacon. With a final burst of energy, they reached the airlock and tumbled inside. Kai's hands flew over the controls, initiating an emergency ascent as the seafloor beneath them continued to collapse, taking the ancient city with it. We made it, Sienna gasped as they rose toward the surface. But everything's gone. Not everything, Kai said softly, holding out her pendant, somehow recovered during their escape. And not everyone. As the submersible breached the surface, Sienna felt the weight of 15 years of grief and anger finally begin to lift. Her father hadn't abandoned her. He'd entrusted her with continuing his legacy in her own way. There's an island, Kai said as they were brought aboard the research vessel. Where the descendants live. Your father mentioned it in notes he left me. We could find them. Sienna looked out at the endless blue horizon, feeling a sense of purpose she hadn't known in years. Yes, she said. I think that's exactly what we should do. 3 months later, Sienna stood on the shore of a small, unmapped island, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. Beside her, Kai spread a blanket on the sand. The elders will meet with us today, he said. They've been deliberating since we arrived. The island community, descendants of the Thalassians who had chosen to live above water while maintaining their ancestors' respect for the sea, had been cautiously welcoming. Sienna's pendant and her connection to her father had opened doors that would have remained closed to other outsiders. Do you think they'll let us share any of their knowledge? She asked. I think they're waiting to see if we're worthy of it, Kai replied, just as they judged your father worthy. She smiled, remembering how her perception of her father had transformed over these months. The man she had thought abandoned her had instead been embraced by this community, learning and teaching in equal measure until his death just 2 years earlier, not lost to the sea as she had believed for 15 years, but living a life of purpose. I used to think the greatest discovery would be finding those ruins, she said, watching the waves caress the shore. But it wasn't the ruins that mattered. It was finding the truth, finding peace. Kai's hand found hers, warm and steady, and finding each other again. The journey had transformed them both. Sienna's icy professional facade had melted away, revealing the passionate, curious woman beneath. Kai's recklessness had tempered into measured courage. Together, they had begun building something neither had thought possible: a bridge between worlds, between past and future. The ocean keeps its secrets, Kai said, echoing his words from their first reunion. But not forever. Sienna squeezed his hand, her father's pendant warm against her skin. Some secrets are worth waiting for. As they walked toward the village where the elders awaited, Sienna felt the presence of the sea at her back. Not as a place of loss anymore, but as a living connection to everything that mattered. History, knowledge, her father's legacy, and a future as vast and full of possibility as the ocean itself. The deep between us wasn't just the name of the paper they would eventually publish about their discoveries. It was the truth of what they had found beneath the waves. Not just ruins or knowledge, but the connections that ran deeper than any ocean trench, binding past to present, heart to heart, and human to human across the endless blue that covered most of our world, but remained largely unexplored, much like the depths of the human heart.